Hey friends, a couple updates today. One, this morning I put our link to the Google Meet on our Google Classroom. So if you have a computer at home with a video camera, it's gonna be the easiest. You can also use your phone, but then you have to download the app. But if you click on the link in our Google Classroom on the computer, it should bring you right to the Google Meet screen. So remember, Miss Duncan is on every single day between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. Probably starting next week, I'm gonna come up with a schedule. So there's certain days that you're gonna hop on, and then that way our groups are a little bit smaller and we don't have a whole bunch of people on at one time. I can help you guys with the packets that are available for pickup at JJ. Remember that that's tomorrow. Remind your parents. They can also print it at home if you have a printer and they don't want to go to JJ. But if you go to John Jacobs, then they have packets for you there that are already printed and ready to go. That's every Thursday. On Fridays, we'll be doing Google Meet. Just anyone can hop on. So eventually I will give your parents the schedule of what day is for you. And then Fridays, if you want to hop on, we're just going to kind of hang out as a class. I know some of you guys might miss your friends. I know I miss all of you. So it'll be kind of just a fun way to hang out and chat and talk and tell everyone about how your life is going outside of school. After I post this video, I'm also going to upload our Section 2 quiz to the Google Classroom for the one and only Ivan. We are 2/3 of the way through the book now. We just passed page 200 in yesterday's reading. So we're on our final third of the book. So you probably have already done the Section 1 quiz. That was for the first 100 pages. And then now I will post the second one, which is from pages 100 to 200, and then there will be one after the third section when we finish. So today we are starting off on page 204 if you are following along in a real book. And we're going to read to page 220 today. So I don't want to give too much away or recap too much because I want you to go take the quiz probably before you watch this video. So if you're starting to watch this video, go take the quiz first and then come back and finish it. You could take it after the video. It just might be a little confusing. What we're going to read today is not part of the quiz, so it'll be all of the videos from last week and Monday and Tuesday because today is Wednesday. But yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions. We're almost done with the one and only Ivan, so I'm gonna pick another book that we'll start reading when we're done with this one. If you guys have any fun ideas, send me a message on Class Dojo or on Google Classroom, or hop on Google Meet this week and let me know. I'll have to order a book soon. I haven't decided quite yet. I have a couple ideas, but if you have any ideas, throw them my way also. So here we go. This section is called More Paintings. George calls out to Julia. He's done. Oh my goodness, excuse me. George calls out to Julia. He's done for the night. Grab your backpack, he says, and hurry, it's late. Gotta go, Ivan, Julia says. Julia doesn't understand. I have to find the right pieces. Oh my goodness. I dig through the pile. They're here somewhere. I know they are. Now let me pause real quick. I do want to add that yesterday at the end of the story, remember we talked about how he was holding up his pictures because he had a whole bunch of pictures that were supposed to make one big one, and he was trying to get a message across to Julia, right? And I had you guys think about like what that message might be or what was going to happen next. We predicted, right? Predicting is like guessing about what is going to happen. So that's kind of where we're at. Ivan's still in his cage. He's got all of his things ready to go, and he's trying to show Julia. Okay. Julia doesn't understand. I have to find the right pieces. I dig through the pile. They're here somewhere. I know they are. I find one, another one, another. I try to hold 4 of them up against the glass. Bob, I say, help me, hurry. Bob grabs paintings with his teeth and drags them to me. One by one, I shove pictures through the window crack. They crumple and tear. There are too many pieces. My puzzle is too big. Careful, Ivan, Julia says. Those might be worth millions someday. You never know. She arranges the paintings into a neat stack. I suppose Mac's going to want to sell these in the gift shop. She still doesn't understand. I shove more out the hole, and more, all of them, one after another. So Ivan's been painting, has he? George says as he puts on his coat. A lot, Julia says with a laugh. A whole lot. You're not taking all those home with you, are you? George asks. I mean, no offense to Ivan, but they're just blobs. Julia thumbs through the towering stack of paintings. They might not be blobs to Ivan. Let's leave those by the office, George suggests. Mac will want to try to sell them. Although, why would anyone want to pay $40 for a finger painting a 2-year-old could do? I don't know. I like Ivan's work, Julia says. He puts his feelings into them. He puts his hair into them, George says. Julia waves goodbye. Night, Ivan. Night, Bob. I press my nose against the glass and watch her walk away. All my work, all my planning, wasted. I look at Ruby sleeping soundly, and suddenly I know she'll never leave the Big Top Mall. She'll be here forever, just like Stella. I can't let Ruby be another one and only. Often, when visitors come to see me, they beat their hands against their puny chests, pretending to be me. They pound away soundless as the wet wings of a new butterfly. The chest beating of a mad gorilla is not something you ever want to hear, not even if you're wearing earplugs, not even if you're 3 miles away wearing earplugs. A real chest beating sends the whole jungle running, as if the sky has broken open, as if men with guns are near. Thump. The sound, my sound, echoes through the mall. George and Julia spin around. Julia drops her backpack. George drops his keys. The pile of pictures goes flying. Thump, thump, thump. I bounce off the walls. I screech and bellow. I beat and beat and beat my chest. Bob hides under knot tag, his paws over his ears. I'm angry at last. I have someone to protect. Now remember, Ivan has told us before that he doesn't get angry because there's no reason to be angry in his domain, right? Gorillas get angry when they're protecting someone, and there is no one to protect in his domain until now, right? Who's he trying to protect? He's trying to protect Ruby, right? He doesn't want baby Ruby to be stuck in this domain, or now he's even calling it a cage sometimes. He doesn't want her to be stuck here forever. Like Stella, he wants her to get out and be happy and free. So now he's angry. After a long while, I grow quiet. I sit. It's hard work being angry. Julia looks at me with wide, disbelieving eyes. I'm panting. I'm a little out of shape. What the heck was that? George demands. Something's really wrong, Julia says. I've never seen Ivan act this way. He seems to be calming down, thank goodness, George says. Julia shakes her head. He's still upset, Dad. Look at his eyes. My pictures are scattered all over the floor like huge autumn leaves. What a mess, George says, sighing. I wish I hadn't bothered sweeping tonight. Do you think Ivan's okay, Julia asks. Probably just a temper tantrum, George says. He reaches under a chair to retrieve a brown and red picture. Can't say I blame the guy, stuck in that tiny cage all these years. And here's a picture of all of his his pictures scattered. Miss Duncan apparently can't talk, which is kind of normal. Pictures scattered all around the floor, right? Because Julia threw them up. They went everywhere when he started beating his chest because they've never seen him do that before. That's scary and it's loud, right? Ivan explains to us before he even does it that when this happens in the jungle, the whole jungle freaks out because it's so loud and it's so crazy. Julia starts to answer, but then she freezes. She cocks her head. She stares at her feet where my pictures lie in disarray. Dad, she whispers, come see this. I'm sure he's another remembrance, George says. Let's pick these up and get going, Jules. I'm exhausted. Dad, she says again, seriously, look at this. George follows her gaze. I see blobs, many, many blobs, along with the occasional swirl. Please, can we go home now? That's an H, Dad. Julia kneels down, straightening one picture and then another. That's an H. And here, she grabs more pictures. Put this one here, and I don't know, maybe that one? You have an E. George rubs his eyes. I hold my breath. Julia is running now. She picks up one picture, sets down another. It's like a puzzle, Dad. This is something. It's a giant word, maybe words, and a picture of something. A giant picture. Jules, George says, this is crazy. But he's looking at the floor too, wandering from picture to picture and scratching his head. H, Julia says. E. O. Ho? Julia chews her lower lip. H-E-O. That looks a lot like an I. H-E-O-I. George writes in the air with his finger. I-E-O-H. Not the letter, an actual I. And that's a foot, or maybe a tree and a trunk. Dad, I think that's a trunk. Julia runs to my window. Ivan, she whispers, what did you make? I stare back. I cross my arms. This is taking much longer than I thought it would. Humans. Sometimes they make chimps look smart. Julia and George take the pictures to the ring where there's room to see them all. An hour passes as they try to assemble my puzzle. Ruby's awake now, and she and Bob and I watch. Ivan, Ruby says, is that a picture of me? Yes, I say proudly. Where am I supposed to be? That's a zoo, Ruby. See the walls and the grass and the people looking at you? Ruby squints. Who are all those other elephants? You haven't met them, I say, yet. It's a very nice zoo, Ruby says with an approving nod. Bob nudges me with his cold nose. It is indeed. In the ring, Julia pumps her fist in the air. Yes, she cries. I told you, Dad. There it is. H-O-M-E. Home. George gazes at the letters. He spins around to look at me. Maybe it's just a coincidence, Jules. You know, a once-in-a-trillion kind of thing. Like that old saying about the chimp and the typewriter. Give him long enough and he'll write a novel. I make a grumbling noise as if a chimp could write a letter, let alone a book. Then how do you explain the rest of it? Julia demands. The picture of Ruby in the zoo. How do you know it's a zoo? George asks. See the circle on the gate? There's a red giraffe in it. George squints and tilts his head. Are you sure that's a giraffe? I was thinking more along the lines of a deformed cat. It's the logo for the zoo, Dad. It's on all their signs. Explain that. George gives her a helpless smile. I can't begin to. I'm just saying there has to be a logical explanation. Look how big this is. Julia puts the last piece of Ruby's right ear into place. It's huge. It is definitely large, George agrees. Julia watches me. She chews on her thumbnail. I see the question in her eyes. She turns back to the paintings and stares at them, looking, truly looking. A slow smile dawns on Julia's face. Dad, she says, I have an idea, a big idea. Julia races around the edge of my painting, her arms spread wide. Billboard big. I'm not following you. I think this is meant to be on a billboard. That's what Ivan wants. George crosses his arms over his chest. What Ivan wants? He repeats slowly. And you know this because you two have been chatting? Because I'm an artist and he's an artist. Uh-huh, says George. Julia clasps her hands together. Come on, Dad, I'm begging you. George shakes his head. No, I'm not doing that. No billboard, no way. I'll get the ladder, Julia says. You get the glue. I know it's dark out, but the billboard is lit. Mac will fire me, Jules, Julia considers. But think of the publicity, Dad. Everyone would know about Ruby. You want me to put up a sign that shows Ruby in a zoo with the word home on it in giant letters? George gestures towards my pictures. A sign, incidentally, that just happens to have been made by a gorilla. Exactly. And you want me to do it without Mac's permission, George asks. Exactly. No, George says. No way. Julia goes to the edge of the ring, careful not to step on any of my paintings. She picks up Mac's claw stick, she walks back and hands it to her father. George runs a finger along the blade. She's just a baby, Dad. Don't you want to help her? But how would it help, Jules? Even if lots of people see Ivan's sign, it doesn't mean anything's going to change. I'm not exactly sure yet, Julia shakes her head. Maybe people will see the sign and they'll know this isn't where Ruby belongs. Maybe they'll want to help her too. George sighs. He looks at Ruby. She waves her trunk. It's a matter of principle, Dad. Principal. L-E, George corrects. Dad, Julia says softly, what if Ruby ends up like Stella? George looks at me, at Ruby, at Julia. He drops the claw stick. The ladder, he says. It is in the storage locker. So, do we think they're gonna put Ivan's sign up on the big billboard? And do we think it's gonna help? So they finally figure out that this big puzzle, or this big array of pictures that Ivan has been creating, is a picture of the zoo, right, that he saw on TV. And it says home. And he's got Ruby on there. He wants Ruby to go home to this zoo. And they're not sure if this is gonna help. George is really worried about being fired, because if they take Ruby to somewhere else, then there's no business left, right? There's no circus. They're not gonna make the money. But Julia just keeps begging her dad that she wants this up there. She wants to help Ruby because she doesn't belong somewhere with this mean claw stick that Mac is always threatening to hit her with, right? So what do we think is gonna happen? Let's predict again. Do we think that they're gonna put it up on the billboard? It sounds like it, right? George says, all right, the ladder, it's in the storage closet, go get it, right? And that's what they would need to put up on the billboard. Is it gonna stick up on the billboard? What's gonna happen? Is that what Ivan wanted? Was it to be on the billboard? What do you guys think? I can't wait to pick up reading tomorrow. I feel like this book is getting so good. And there's little slices of happy mixed in here, right? I feel like the whole first part is a little bit sad. You're learning about how they're living in these not good conditions. But now we're seeing Ivan's hard work start to come out, and I just can't wait to see what happens. And I miss you guys. Again, that link to Google Meet is on the Google Classroom. It's pretty easy if you're on your computer. You just click on it and it'll bring you to my screen. And you'll have to hit the button Join Now. And if you haven't used it before, will have to click Allow the microphone and the video on your computer. If you're on your phone, you need to download the Google Meet app. But if you're on the computer, you just have to click on that link. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if you need any help. Come say hi. I miss you guys, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys tomorrow.